0-0 draw for Aston Villa and Newcastle. This was Eddie Howe versus Unai Emery. And the truth about these two managers were just sitting down during the transfer window, picking their nose and doing Joachim Cole, Joachim Low, or what he was doing, picking his nose and putting it in his butt crack or doing whatever he was doing. That's what Unai Emery and Eddie Howe was doing in the transfer window. And so we look into this game, and every single person understood that this would be a difficult game. Every single person understood that it was going to be a tough one for the two, especially because I personally is a neutral. You understand? I don't have any gain with Aston Villa and Newcastle winning or losing. I would love to see Newcastle lose, don't get me wrong, because they are very annoying and they're the little brother that just keeps on nagging on the bottom of your feet. You get me? But the truth about this situation, these are two heavyweights of the Premier League facing, and so I have to talk about it. So before we get any further, make sure you guys hitting that button, turning on your notifications, and hitting that subscribe button if you love what you see ahead of the video. So make sure you guys do that, and let's get this party started. Now, the possession of this game was honestly very close. It was so close that it was minuscule in this position. You understand? You're looking at Newcastle having 56% and Aston Villa having 44%. And then you look at the shots on target. I don't know where they are getting their shooting targets from, but they need to go to Detroit and see how to, or learn how to shoot. Because at this point in time, they are doing something wrong. Because shots on target, Newcastle had 5, Villa had 2. And it absolutely has to do with Villa. Newcastle had opportunities, but of course, they are missing one very credible striker that could have literally won this game with the 5 chances that they got on target. But we will talk about that later. And then, of course, the key moment of this game was Ezri Konsa red card. In the 66th minute, this was a goal-scoring opportunity for Anthony Gordon, who was playing the number 9 position today. I have to give credit to Eddie Howe, because that was a tough call on who was going to play that number 9 position, because he still had Joelinton. By the way, Joelinton was somebody that Newcastle bought as a number 9. You understand? They bought him as a number 9 for a world record fee for them, but it didn't work out, and then they transformed him into a midfielder. So you had Joelinton. In my mind, it would have been easier for me to be like, Joelinton, go and play the number 9 position. You have known that has been your craft for so long, maybe until you got to Newcastle, then you changed. But this was a tough call. And Anthony Gordon was away. It was a breakaway. It was a good one. It was a well-drilled pass from Anthony Elanga to Anthony Gordon. It was a one-on-one situation, and Ezri Konsa brought him down. Ezri Konsa brought him down, and it was a pure red card. It was him stopping a goal opportunity. It's quite clear. You understand? It was a goal. It was probably going to be a goal. It was going to be a clear-cut chance, and Ezra had to leave. But then you have to also look at the notable absence, Alexander Isak. He was left out amid the transfer push to Liverpool. And I use the word left out in a very, let me say, which language I go even use for this kind of one. I'm using the word left out, you get me? Because at this point, Alexander Isak don't even want them. He doesn't want them, he doesn't want them. He is ready to do whatever it is, even if it means him walking into the water and calling on Jorobi and Sharafi. He does not want Newcastle. You get me? He doesn't want to help him in this situation. He doesn't want to help him. Don't tell him nothing. Where he's going to Liverpool. That's all he cares about. And he has very few days to complete that deal. You get me? Now let's talk about the tactical breakdown of this situation. Because Newcastle had a front foot start that I thought this might be exciting. Of course, Anthony Elanga is in here, and this dude is faster than Usain Bolt. He is faster than a cheetah, literally attacking an African. That's how he was fast, and we know that for sure. Anthony Elanga starting centrally and then moving for Anthony Gordon to come in. Of course, this is because of Alexander Isak's absence. But this gave a big chance. You understand? He had a big chance in the first 3 minutes. but didn't take it because that is Anthony Elanga. He's not the prolific striker that every single person wants. He's not the prolific striker that Alexander Isak is. With 2 chances, he will score you 1. But that is what they have to face. Anthony Gordon was the main vertical threat in this situation because they made it, they switched things around, constantly running off the shoulders of Villa's backline. But guess what? This was honestly not enough. Did Newcastle's press deserve more than a point? That was definitely what the question has to be. Or was it just all huff and puff and the wolf broke down because he didn't? The huff and puff was absolutely not worth it. It did not work. And then you look, number 2 is the Villa passive first half. Villa was so passive in the first half, it was mind-blowing to me. I don't know what Unai Emery was telling these boys, but in the first half, they failed to register a single shot in the opening 45 minutes. Brother, did they tiff your leg? They still have Ollie Watkins present. But this guy was literally playing. The entire Aston Villa team, they were playing in the first half like as if it was a bunch of grandmas that were playing in St. Aloysius in Nigeria. What are you talking about, people? First half, 45 minutes, no shot on target. No single shot at all. And you are at home. You are at the Villa Park in the first game of the season. This is the first time they have done that since Fulham versus City, or any Premier League team since Fulham versus City in May of 2024. The build-up was scattered everywhere. The build-up was honestly, the build-up looked like, you know when you put granite in Gary? When you put granite in Gary and you put ice, the way the granite basically runs away, scattered everywhere, there's no formation to the situation. That is how Aston Villa played. There was no unity, there was no idea of how to break down Newcastle's defense. Misplaced passes with literally 73% of accuracy. That is absurd. I'm sure Wrexham can do better at that point. Little to no progression through the midfield. And then you look at Amadou Onana and Boubacar. I don't know if it's Boubacar or Abubakar Kamara struggling to connect with Ollie Watkins. Ollie Watkins was honestly like an undertaker trying to find gold. He was alone in the cemetery. It was truly a dead shift. It was a midnight shift and nobody was coming to save him. Nobody was trying to bring out any single atom, an iota of an assist for Ollie Watkins. He can't do it by himself. Was this rust or a worrying sign for Aston Villa? Because top 4 is absolutely going to be a tough goal this season. It is going to be a tough fight this season. And if Aston Villa are not ready, in fact, let me not even say top 4, top 8. Because Manchester United are back ready to play football. Crystal Palace are on a very, very high kick. Brighton, Newcastle, Chelsea, City, Liverpool, Arsenal. All these teams are ready to go. And if Aston Villa are not ready, it is going to be a long day in the Premier League for them. And then in the second half, then emerged Aston Villa. They were sharper. It looks like Unai Emery literally told them to lie down and use pankere to flog them. You understand? You know that pankere that they use in primary school? If you're a CKC man, you know what I'm talking about. Kamara's header, Ollie Watkins' low strike, both tested Nick Pope. But guess what? He has Pope in his name for a reason. That guy is sitting on a really position that he doesn't make mistake often. He just doesn't. And you have to be talented. It has to be an exciting, a very moment for you to be able to beat Nick Pope. Because one of the best shot saver in the Premier League is Nick Pope. The crowd, of course, got lifted. Like I said, it was Villa Park. And so the crowd was saying, attack, pressed higher. And forced Newcastle into serious mistakes. And Newcastle also understood the situation, understood what was going on, and started hurriedly clearing the ball. They were not building back from behind anymore. Pushing the ball forward, vertical threats to the likes of Anthony Gordon and Anthony Elanga, the two Antonys. Anthony. If you guys know that meme, you guys know what I'm talking about. And then, of course, there's a turning point in the game. And that turning point was Ezri Konsa's red card. On the 66th minute, Anthony broke clear. It was a clear-cut chance. There was nobody stopping him, and he was running like thief in Bagrakbe. He was running like thief in Computer Market. He was going and going, and he was running like a thief in Nima. Ghanaians, you understand? You know what I'm talking about. But then Ezri Konsa, being the fast player that he is, tugged him back just outside the box, and it didn't go in as a penalty. Ezri Konsa gets a straight red. Straight red. Guess what? Unai Emery is a master at shutting down. If he wants to shut down and make sure there's nothing happening in this position, he does that. And he basically goes in a compact 4-4-1. You heard me right. I did not say 4-4-2 because Konsa was out. He made the substitution, brought another centre back, went 4 in the back, 4 in the middle, and 1 up front. And it was a shutdown from there. The moment that red card happened, I literally told the guy I was watching the game with, this is over. It is over. He's not going to let any goal go in after this. And that is what we saw. He ceded territory. He allowed Newcastle play, but he was not allowing them to score. He was focusing on the central lanes. Absolutely did not allow anything to go through it. Now, is this smart game management or just pure survival mode? Because Unai Emery is going to be tested this season. And then the 5th point, last but not least, is Newcastle's blunt edge. This boy was trying to cut a steak. Was trying to cut a steak with the back of a butter knife. Brother, it's not working. He was trying to literally have nama. You understand? During Salah, he was trying to prepare nama and using the back of a spoon. That is what Newcastle was figured out. That is what their attacking line was today. It was a blunt edge. Despite dominance in possession and the theory that was given to them by Aston Villa, Newcastle's finishing just wasn't existent. Honestly, Newcastle's finishing reminded me of that best friend that has been waiting in the wings for her attention. Just waiting in the wings saying, please, go best friend, go best friend. He was just waiting. That is what he was just waiting. That is what Newcastle's attack looked like. It was blunt and it was never going to hit the target. It was not going to go in. Gordon headed over, unmarked in 8 yards, from 8 yards. Blazed over twice as if he was targeting a bird up there that literally shot on his car. Harvey Barnes, late volley, something that is in his back pocket, that is his Swiss Army knife, was blocked heroically by Matty Cash. Without Isak, there is a problem in the penalty box. There's nobody in the penalty box. It's like someone going to pick up milk and just not coming back. That is what Isak has done in Newcastle because he has not shown back in season. That milk is definitely gone at this point. There's no predator to pounce to the last moments. Newcastle are in for a rocky season. If they do not get Wissa, if they do not get Jackson, if they do not get Vlahovic, they need to find a solution. There's still Kolo Muani out there. Go and get a striker. If not, you might be looking at the Manchester United season this year. And the sad thing about it is that you have Champions League to play, and it's not going to get any easier. Let me know what you guys think about this down in the comment. Make sure you guys hit that like button, hit that follow button. If you don't see me here, make sure you guys turn on your notifications so you do not miss anything we do here. And I'll see you guys in the next one. It's your boy, Pillar, and he's out. I'll see you guys. Peace.